You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. And on today's episode of the podcast, we're reviewing match number 4 of the Super 8s of the ICC T20 World Cup for 2024 between Australia and Bangladesh. It was a comprehensive victory by Australia with bat and ball, and proved to be too strong for Bangladesh in the end, and have started the Super 8 stage of this T20 World Cup with a win. Plus, Pat Cummins provided a hat-trick in the process, and the Australian team will be very pleased with their performance coming out of this game against Bangladesh. On the other hand, Bangladesh were nowhere near the mark. They were below their best with bat and ball and struggled immensely in this game against Australia. So there's plenty to talk about from this game between Australia and Bangladesh. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's have a look at the match summary from match number 4 of this Super 8 stage of this ICC T20 World Cup for 2024 between Australia and Bangladesh from the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. Well, Bangladesh batted first and made 8 for 140 from their 20 overs. Hussain Shanto, the captain, top scored with 41, and Pat Cummins took 3 wickets for Australia. Australia needed 141 to win. They finished on 2 for 100 from 11.2 overs due to rain, and therefore the match was awarded to them via Duckworth-Lewis. David Warner top scored with 53 not out. Rashad Hussain took 2 wickets for Bangladesh. Australia won by 28 runs on the Duckworth-Lewis method, and Pat Cummins was named player of the match. What were the key moments and key factors from match number 4 of this Super 8 stage of the ICC T20 World Cup for 2024 between Australia and Bangladesh? Well, the innings of 41 by Hussain Shanto, the captain, and Hildroy of 40, plus the partnership of 58 for the second wicket between Das and Hussain Shanto were key to ensure Bangladesh got to their total of 8 for 140 from their 20 overs. The opening partnership of 65 between Warner and Head set the tone in the run chase for Australia and got Australia ahead of the Duckworth-Lewis pass score when the rain came, which saw Australia to victory. Those were the key moments and the key factors. From match number 4 of this Super 8 stage of the ICC T20 World Cup for 2024 between Australia and Bangladesh. Let's talk about how both Australia and Bangladesh performed in match number 4 of this Super 8 stage of this ICC T20 World Cup for 2024 from the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. First of all, let's talk about Australia and talk about their performance and start with their batters. And Australia's batting in this game against Bangladesh was very good. Very clinical, very dominant. Obviously, David Warner and Travis Head did most of the work in this batting performance for Australia. Australia's batting, as I said, was very good. We're on track to chase down Bangladesh 140 before the rain came and stopped play. And Australia won on Duckworth-Lewis because they were miles ahead of the Duckworth-Lewis pass score when the rain came to pretty much end the game then and there. But the opening partnership, Warner and Head, was very good. 65 set the tone for Australia in the run chase, put the Bangladesh bowlers under pressure. And it's good signs that Australia have David Warner and Travis Head scoring runs consistently in the last 2 games. Travis Head has done pretty well. David Warner starting to get some consistency with his run scoring. So that's very good for Australia, knowing that the opening partnership is setting the tone, getting the starts that the team needs, especially going into the remainder of the Super 8s and potentially a semi-final for Australia if they do make that stage of the tournament. But I think Australia would be very pleased, and I think David Warner and Travis Head would be very pleased individually that they are able to contribute and get the team off to a very good start with these opening partnerships. No doubt it set the tone and really put Bangladesh and their bowlers on the back foot. So a very good start with the bat from Australia to kick off the Super 8 stage of this tournament. Also, Mitchell-Marsh and Glenn Maxwell didn't score as many runs as they would have liked, but nonetheless, I suppose they got got a bit of game time. Well, except for Mitchell Marsh. He only lasted 6 balls. Same with Maxwell. But I suppose, it's important for them to get some game time as well going forward for the remainder of the tournament. But other than that, Australia's batting pretty dominant. Warner and Head were good, very aggressive, took it to the Bangladesh bowlers and really put them under pressure. And good signs for Australia going forward in that regard with Warner and Head as the opening combination, which is very important, very pivotal in any cricket team, is that your opening partnership ensures that you get off to good starts, especially in T20 cricket, and especially capitalising on the power play. And that's what Warner and Head did. So Australia's batting very good in this game against Bangladesh. We'll talk about the Australian bowlers and their performance in the match. A very strong clinical bowling performance by Australia, I thought. Kept the pressure on Bangladesh, taking wickets at regular intervals, and put the squeeze on and the pressure on Bangladesh, and did well to keep Bangladesh to 140 in the end, which in reality wasn't enough. If the game was able to continue without the rain interruptions that we had during this game, Australia were definitely on track to chase down 140 quite comfortably. So the Australian bowlers did a very good job there. The highlight of the bowling performance was Pat Cummins, of course. 3 for 29 from his 4 overs, going at 7.25 runs to the over. Pat Cummins was the highlight, really, because of his hat-trick. Obviously, his first T20 international hat-trick, Pat Cummins, and also he's the second Australian bowler to take a hat-trick in a T20 World Cup for Australia. The first one to do that was Brett Lee, and he did that in 2007. You never guess, against Bangladesh. So it must be something with Australian bowlers in T20 World Cups getting hat-tricks. Obviously, Brett Lee in 2007 against Bangladesh, and now Pat Cummins. So quite a coincidence there. But Pat Cummins didn't really know that he was actually on a hat-trick. It was actually a hat-trick that didn't happen in 1 over. It happened in the space of 2 overs. He took 2 wickets back-to-back to finish off the over. And then the first ball of his next over was the hat-trick ball when he took the hat-trick. So he dismissed the following batters, Mahmudullah, Mahedi Hassan, and Hildroy, across 2 overs to pick up his hat-trick. So I think Pat Cummins was pretty delighted with that, and also player of the match as well. He bowled really well, probably the pick of the Australian bowlers in this performance. And then you had the other bowlers who chipped in, Maxwell, Stoinis, chipping in with a wicket each. Same with Stark. No wickets for Hazlewood, but yet again, he was economical. Adam Zampa, 2 wickets, yet again, very important for Australia in terms of these conditions in the Caribbean on spin-friendly decks. You need your leg spinner to deliver and pick up wickets, and he's certainly done that for Australia. So Australia's bowlers will be pretty happy with their work and this performance against Bangladesh. They're all picking up wickets. They're all doing their job. It looks pretty good. As you would expect, a very strong attack with Cummins, Stark, Hazlewood, and Zampa. And then you've got someone like Marcus Stoinis who can come in and do a role. And I've been very impressed with Marcus Stoinis in this T20 World Cup. He scored runs with the bat and also taking wickets. And that's very important from your all-rounder. And then Glenn Maxwell, we know how handy he can be with his off-spin. And also you've got those options to play with. So Australia are very blessed with the bowling attack that they have in this T20 World Cup squad. So yeah, it's a very clinical, dominant performance with the ball. And I think the bowlers will be pleased with their work going forward. For the remainder of the tournament, they're going to be very dangerous and hitting their straps at the right time. And I think you could say that with the Australian team as a whole, as a unit, they're pretty much hitting their straps at the right time. Yes, they haven't lost the game thus far in this tournament, but what they have done is they're able to find ways with the bat and with the ball to win these games thus far. Definitely one of the strongest teams to win this tournament. Anything can happen as we progress to the latter stages of the tournament, especially the semi-finals and then the final eventually if they do make it, Australia. But, this team, pretty much the same 11 they've played throughout the tournament. Obviously, they've rested a few players here and there, but this 11 that they have on the park at the moment is definitely their strongest 11. It's definitely causing a few problems for other teams as we enter the latter stage of the tournament. But just to recap about Australia's bowling, very good, dominant, clinical. The batting was the same. And the team performance from Australia across the board was very clinical and dominant. Too strong for Bangladesh in the end. We move on and talk about Bangladesh. Let's talk about their performance quickly in this match against Australia. We'll start with the batting group for Bangladesh and talk about the batters. Bangladesh were below their best with the bat in this game. 140 they scored in the end. That wasn't going to be enough to challenge Australia. 140 was never going to be enough, even though this game was affected by weather and we had some delays, and obviously the game was ended because of rain in the end, and Australia won on Duckworth-Lewis. But 140 was never going to be enough for Bangladesh. They needed probably 150 plus, maybe 160 to challenge Australia and really put them under pressure. Bangladesh, their batting didn't have any fluency, didn't have any rhythm. People got bogged down. There was a lot of dot balls. I think Bangladesh have got the highest percentage of dot balls in this T20 World Cup, which is a stat that you don't want, especially in T20 cricket. You want to try and maximize the 120 balls as possible as you can. Unfortunately for them, they weren't able to do that in this game. They were just put under pressure by the Australian bowlers. A lot of dot balls, people getting bogged down. You saw Hussain Shanto, the captain, tried to break out with his innings. Same with Hildroyd as well. Both of them were trying to, create something for Bangladesh, but they weren't able to do it. They didn't have support either. Wickets fell at regular intervals. Not many partnerships were established. The only partnership that was established was the 58 partnership for the second wicket between Das and Hussain Shanto. And that was pretty much the highest partnership of the match. So Bangladesh, they've got some work to do with their batting, really. Their batting in this tournament has been up and down throughout the whole entire tournament. And especially when you come to the Super 8s, obviously, the business end of the tournament, you're playing teams like Australia, who are a very top side, quality side, who are going to test you. You've got to be better than they've shown in this game. They were poor, no doubt about that. As everyone has made those comments and commentary on their performance, they were definitely below their best. So plenty of work for Bangladesh to do in the remaining games that they have in the Super 8. Obviously, they've got India and Afghanistan to come. So they've got to try and get something out of their batting group in those two games. So the batting overall, poor, below par for Bangladesh. Let's talk about the bowling effort for Bangladesh and their performance with the ball in this game against Australia. It was a poor performance with the ball from Bangladesh. Really just bowled poor deliveries, boundary balls. They're not consistent with their line and lengths. There were not too many dot balls to build pressure. They were sloppy in the field. There was a drop catch at point. David Warner was on 5 at the time, and he was dropped at point on 5, and he went on to make 53 not out. So Bangladesh couldn't afford mistakes in the field, and they couldn't afford drop catches if they were going to pull out something out of the bag to win this game and really cause an upset. But they were just sloppy across the board. The only one who took the couple of wickets was Hussain, obviously 2 for 23 for him from his 3 overs, the spinner. He bowled pretty well, picked up 2 wickets and was able to, get some breakthroughs for Bangladesh. But the rest of the bowlers went for runs, leaking runs, and couldn't build any sort of pressure whatsoever. I suppose that had a bit of a thing to do with Australia and in terms of how David Warner and Travis Head went about their business with the opening partnership and with the bat, just being aggressive and taking, the pressure onto the Bangladesh bowlers who didn't really know how to quite handle that all that well. And Bangladesh's bowling in this tournament has been up and down, just like their batting as well. So they've got some work to do, the bowling group for Bangladesh. So nothing much to add on, really. It was just poor, not good enough at this sort of level. When you're playing against quality teams like Australia, you've got to be better. And Bangladesh needed to be better than they were in this game. They were below their best with bat and ball. They weren't up for it, especially in the Super 8s. No one really predicted Bangladesh to be here. They only got here because of Sri Lanka and the Netherlands not playing well in that group, in Group D. and they were able to win a couple of games against them and went through to the Super 8s. Out of all the teams in the Super 8s, are they the best team? Probably not, which many people have made some comments about. Because, they have been up and down. We've seen that from Bangladesh for quite a number of years now, not just of late. They haven't quite delivered. And that's what's happened here. So, batting and bowling below their best. It was below par. And the team performance overall was a bit poor as well. So plenty of work for Bangladesh to do in the remaining 2 games that they have in the Super 8 stage. What can they do? Can they make some improvements with the bat and ball? We'll have to wait and see. Final thoughts to conclude today's episode of the podcast. And it was a strong performance by Australia with bat and ball. Have started well to begin the Super 8s with a win. And they'll be very pleased about their performance, Australia. They'll be pleased about David Warner, Travis Head scoring runs, obviously Pat Cummins taking the hat-trick, of course, but also their overall performance as well. They'll be very happy going into the remainder of the Super 8s and hopefully to qualify for the semi-finals. Australia, their next game is on Saturday, 22nd of June. That will be at St. Vincent and the Grenadiers. And pretty much a win there against Afghanistan will secure a spot for Australia in the semi-finals. Afghanistan coming off a 47-run loss to India. So Afghanistan will have a point to prove after that defeat against Afghanistan. But Australia pretty much know what they need to do. Win that game pretty much almost guarantees them a spot in the semi-finals. So that's Australia's next challenge in this Super 8 stage. On the other hand, Bangladesh, we're always going to be up against it, against Australia in this match. They were below their best with both bat and ball. They struggled in both departments. And Australia were just too good in the end. So Bangladesh have a lot of work to do going forward. Their next game is against India. And that will be also on Saturday, 22nd of June. And that will be at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. And it's a must-win game for Bangladesh if they want to keep their semi-final hopes alive. But India coming off a 47-run win over Afghanistan, are full of confidence. They've been playing some good cricket in this T20 World Cup. And it's going to be tough for Bangladesh to try and cause a bit of an upset there with that result. But you never know. T20 cricket's unpredictable on the day. But Bangladesh have a lot of work to do. They're certainly up against it. But that game, if they lose that game, pretty much they're out. If India win that game, they're pretty much through to the semi-finals, you would think. So plenty of challenges and plenty of things to ponder about for Bangladesh going forward in this Super 8 stage. Thanks, everyone, for listening to our review of match number 4 of the Super 8s of the ICC T20 World Cup for 2024 between Australia and Bangladesh. If you're watching or listening to this episode of the podcast on our YouTube channel, let us know your thoughts on match number 4 of the Super 8s of this ICC T20 World Cup for 2024 between Australia and Bangladesh in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Thanks for watching and listening. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.